Do you know what I mean? 0-0 away to Burnley. It's one of them games. It's not the worst result. It's not the worst result. Obviously not the best. It's not the worst one. We've played better games this season. We've also had worse performances this season as well. But I just felt that we were missing what I've called the X factor. Something a little bit spicy. We're missing something in attack. And in yesterday's video I said that we looked a bit stale. I thought we looked a bit stale. Some people agreed, some people disagreed. And I can actually see both sides of the coin. Maybe calling yesterday stale was perhaps a little bit harsh, because we did create some chances. Or we certainly create the openings to create chances, if that makes sense. We'll get on to that in a minute. But perhaps the word stale isn't necessarily for yesterday's performance at Turf Moor, but over a small period, over the last few weeks, it just feels like we're missing something in the attack that is a little bit, well, stale. Do we have confidence at the minute? And I guess there's a question I'm posing to you. Do we have confidence in West Ham scoring 2 or 3 goals a game at the moment? I particularly don't. I thought we'd win yesterday at Turf Moor. Got it wrong, obviously. But I said 1-0 West Ham. I didn't have faith in us going there and scoring 2 or 3 because the players are out of form. The ones that are out of form are the ones in the attacking side of the team. And it just feels like it's just not clicking. It's just not working at the minute. And that was sort of my opinion, if you like. It's been sort of almost backed up by David Moyes indirectly. He didn't name players, but David Moyes has said that players have set themselves a high standard and some of them are not playing to that standard at the moment. In his words, where I don't want to pussyfoot around it. You know, I want to tell them they're not playing well enough. And I agree with him. It's hard not to agree with him. And that's why I think we're missing what I've called the X factor. We'll get on to that in a minute because I want to talk about something else first. But the only reason I brought it up first because that thumbnail that you saw before the video, I got Charlie to do that last night, so I need to speak about it first, but we'll come back. Because the one thing I want to talk about is the Premier League. It just feels corrupt to some extent. Now, I don't mind drawing at Burnley to some extent, yes. Like I said, if you want to finish in the top half, I think drawing away to Burnley is a good result. You want to get Europa League football or Europa Conference League on the assumption that someone above you wins the League Cup and the FA Cup, so 6th and 7th also get European place in Premier League. Yesterday's an alright result, it's alright. But you want to get top 4, which is what the manager spoke about, and I still believe there is a race on for 4th. I think it's open at the moment. That's a bad result. That's 2 points drop yesterday. And it does feel like 2 points drop because of what West Ham done last season. Last season, the season before, good result. This season, I'm not so sure. And that's because we've moved on. That's because we've moved on. And it's a good thing that yesterday's seen as 2 points dropped. But the reason I'm a bit frustrated with the Premier League, if you like, is because of the penalty decision. Now, at the game, even to be fair, as I say, it's hard to tell. It was down the other end. It felt like it looked like McNeil just leathered him in midair, even from 110 yards away. Watching the replay, he does just leather him in midair. Now, I can sort of get it to some extent. I'm going to take the personnel out of this and I'm going to ignore Saturday. I get why the decision wasn't overturned, why VAR's watched it and they've thought, we'll go with the referee here. Because I like to think that if he had given the penalty, VAR would have done the same thing, which is it's one of those that's sort of like could be a pen, couldn't be a pen. It's up to the interpretation of the referee to some extent. Shouldn't be like that, but I feel like it is. And they've just gone with the on-field decision. And like I said, I do feel that if the referee gave it, I don't think VAR would have overturned it. But it's not as black and white as that because you have to include personnel. And I think you have to include Saturday. So let's start with personnel because that leads into Saturday. So the referee didn't give it, fine. Goes to VAR. And the man in charge of VAR decided there was nothing to look at here. Carry on, corner kick. The man in charge of VAR was John Moss, right? Now, we go back to Saturday. John Moss was in charge of the game at Manchester City, in which he awarded City the softest penalty I have seen in the Premier League. There was 2 other softer pens in the Premier League later on that day. To be fair, I would say the City one was still a little bit kinder than the other 2. But that one, I still don't get how it was a penalty. It clearly hits Martino in the ribs as far as I'm concerned. But if we were not West Ham yesterday, if Burnley were playing Man United, if Burnley were playing Liverpool, would that have been given as a penalty on field prior to VAR? I struggle to believe it wouldn't be. I find it hard to feel that there's not some sort of Super League 6 bias going on it's always happened. It is not new this season, but this weekend it just feels embarrassing. It just feels more evident than always this weekend. I don't want to sit here and say, woe is me, woe is West Ham, unfair, it was for that penalty we would have gone on to win the game, because quite possibly, yes, if we got the penalty we probably would have gone on to win the game. That's not why we dropped points. We dropped points because we weren't good enough further up the pitch, because we were missing X factor, in my opinion. And like I said, we'll come on to that. But we can't just ignore that penalty decision, because it is huge. Every single one of those penalty decisions is massive. And I think if Saturday didn't happen, I think it would be a bit easier to stomach. As a West Ham fan, you go, on another day we get that, frustrating, we move along. But because of what we just witnessed on the Saturday, I am a little bit bitter about it, if I'm honest with you. Like I said, on the day, I sort of ignored it a little bit. I've seen the highlights since, and the more I watch, I think, how the hell is the VAR referee not said to the referee on the pitch, go have a look for yourself, because there's a decision to be made here. And the guy in charge of VAR, like I said, was John Moss, who was at the Etihad. Anyway, we get on to the Chelsea game, Stamford Bridge. You can make a case for both penalties that Chelsea's got as being soft. And the funny thing is that they are those exact decisions I was talking about earlier. I think when the VAR looks at it, I think they go with the referee. I think the Rafinha one, they I could be wrong, I should have double checked this. I think they overturned the Rafinha one. I think the referee gives a corner, then VAR says you need to have a look at this. Looks like Rafinha's scissors kicked Rudiger, have a little check. But the second one, certainly the second one, the one in the stoppage time that got the Chelsea the winner, that one was given as a penalty. VAR looked at it and said, no, we'll go with you. And that's the decisions I'm talking about. I think if the referee didn't give a pen for that Rudiger one, I'm not so sure the VAR would have overturned it. They might have done, and if they did, there's only one difference between the West Ham decision and the Chelsea decision. Big club bias, if you want to call that, whatever it is. You know what I'm trying to say, the stature of the club, the title challenge of Chelsea compared to West Ham. And then we go on to Carrow Road, and this one's just embarrassing. It's embarrassing from the referee, it's embarrassing from Ronaldo, and it's embarrassing, to be fair, again, it's another VAR thing where I think they're just going to agree with the referee. If the referee doesn't give that pen from Ronaldo, I think he plays on as normal, carries on the game. But because he's given it, they look at it and they think, no, we're going to go with on-field decision here. And I think this is the frustration for me, because there was no way that should have been given as a penalty against Max Aarons on Cristiano Ronaldo. He flung himself to the ground. That was a pen. Burnley and West Ham should have had at least 2 penalties yesterday, because there was all sorts of grappling going on in the box and stuff. Every corner, every free kick, both teams were at it, holding each other, holding the attackers, bumping into the attackers, trying to put them off and get in the way and stuff. And that's what you do. That's just what you do when you're defending set pieces, and that's what Max Aarons has done. Has he pulled Cristiano Ronaldo? Yes, he has, but not enough to make a big... Let's be honest, Ronaldo is a specimen of a man. He's built, he's ripped. You couldn't get a fitter, stronger human being than what Cristiano Ronaldo is. Max Aarons taps him on the shoulder and he goes down as if he's just been sniped in the forehead. It's just embarrassing, and this is where it gets frustrating and gets me wound up. I'm more wound up about what I feel is bordering on corruption than sort of West Ham drawing, and it shouldn't be the case. And I guess it's this morning, for what it's worth, I've only just watched the highlights about 10 minutes before we recorded this video, so that's why I'm a bit infuriated by the penalty decision. But anyway, we'll park it. And like I said, the reason we didn't win yesterday is not because of that. It might have helped us win the game, I think it would have done, but we shouldn't be relying on that. If we have to rely on penalty decisions, that's when you've got a bit of a problem, not a problem really, but you know what I mean, it almost masks over what's going on at the other end of the pitch. And I just felt that we were missing the X factor yesterday, not just for the first time, but various games prior to this, Brighton in particular as well. It just feels like we're missing something. And like I said at the start of the video, some people say we need a second striker, but there's people that counter that argument with, yeah, but Antonio's not getting the service. Some people say we need an attacking midfielder, but then the counter argument to that is, yeah, but Antonio's not doing enough up front to put the ball in the back of the net. I can see both arguments, and I agree with both arguments. I don't think we're providing Antonio with enough opportunities, but I don't think he's doing well enough. There was times yesterday I felt, like I said, maybe I was a bit harsh calling it stale, but it just feels like that. Having watched us, almost it feels like we're playing the same way and we're coming stuck with the same things week in, week out at the minute. And we created some chances to create chances. I know that sounds really weird, but we've got the ball out wide, there it is, get the ball in the box, we get it in, but it just wasn't quite good enough. Rice was making these fantastic runs, but he was putting it into the box and there was just nobody there. And I gave it, you know, like I said in the review, I think the low cross against Burnley is a clever thing to do, because you keep pinging it in high. Nick Pope's just going to come and gather it every single day of the week. He was brilliant yesterday. The saves he made are a couple of really good ones, a couple of comfortable ones, but the way he was coming for every single cross in the air was just... You watch every time West Ham cross it, you did just think, oh, don't cross it, because the keeper's just going to come and get it, kind of thing. So we kept putting it in low, and like I said, I thought it was the right thing to do. But the movement in the box was just lacking. There was a few times you saw Rice in particular take on 3 players. Lanzini would take on a couple, Ben Ram would take on a couple, Masuaku. They were doing the hard bit, skinning the defender, giving themselves a yard to get the ball in the box, and it just felt like we were just blasting it into the box, hoping for something to happen. But the bit in the middle was just lacking at the minute, and it, like I said, it's just frustrating as a fan right now, because it feels like it is 2 points dropped. And I was pleased to hear what Moyes said after the game about how we've set some really high standards and we're not meeting them at the minute. There's 1 or 2 people, but then the challenge is to David Moyes is, well, let's see something. Let's, you know, you can't play the same team every week and keep complaining that the team aren't doing enough, but then play the same one in the next game. Well, there's got to be repercussions off the back of what he feels as players underperforming. Well, we need to see a reaction from the players on the pitch, but also the manager as well with his team selection. And like I said yesterday, even though I felt we were a bit stale on the pitch, you looked at the bench and you thought, well, there's not much there, is there? We've got Yarmolenko on the bench, but are we going to bring him on? Probably not. Do we want to see him on the pitch? Probably not. You know, Vlasic, I still think there's a player in Vlasic. I'll get on, well, I'm doing the preview with Gonzo later. I'm going to have to change my t-shirt for him. I'm not wearing this in the Arsenal preview. But I want to see Vlasic start. I think he's got a bit of something about him. I thought when he came on the pitch against Burnley, I thought his movement was really good. I thought he was a little bit zippier with his passing. He would get his head up a bit more. You know, the lay off to Souček and at the death, I thought he held off the Burnley defenders really well and laid it off to him perfectly. Just a poor finish from Souček in the end. But I thought Vlasic was... I'm not saying he's got what we're lacking, that X Factor thing, that bit of magic. And last season, that performance from Burnley wasn't a one-off. We were winning these games last season. I think that's a frustrating thing for me. I think I've just clicked talking to you about it. Last season, we would find a way to win that. We would find a way. Someone would find a way. It might be a ping of a cross and we get it in, or someone does a bit of individual magic or something, or do you know what I mean, or ball ricocheting and goes in our favour. It felt like we had a little bit of luck and we had stuff we had stuff to win the game. It just feels like we're lacking that at the moment. We're lacking somebody that's going to do something. And like I said last season, when we were playing poorly but winning, that was okay because we were winning. When Antonio was playing poorly at the start of the season but he was scoring goals, it was okay because he was scoring goals. But now he's not scoring goals. That's when you start to focus on his individual performance a bit more than perhaps you did in August or last season, because he was sticking the ball in the back of the net. He's not doing that anymore. 2 goals now since August, so September, October, November, December, 4 months, 2 goals from our striker. It's not good enough. It's not good enough for any Premier League striker, by the way. If this was Norwich we're talking about, I'd be saying that about Pukki. I'd be saying that's not good enough. 2 goals in 4 months is not good enough. Yes, we're not providing him with enough service, but I don't think he's doing enough either. And I know people say get over Jesse Lingard. I can't get over him because of games like yesterday. Games like yesterday is just tailor-made for someone like Jesse to come into this team and just have that little bit of, to quote Thierry Henry, va-va-voom, to have that little bit of something, that little bit better than Burnley's, because Burnley were the same issue as us. Burnley had the same issue as us. Couldn't score. Couldn't create a good enough chance, couldn't put the ball in the back of the net, kind of thing. And Dyche might be looking at that thinking, 2 points dropped yesterday. He well within his rights to think that, because like I said, I think both teams tried to win the game. And to be clear, I am not faulting the effort of the players at all. I thought they all worked hard. I think Antonio, for his effort, 8, 9 out of 10. Ben Rama for his effort, 8, 9 out of 10. I thought they all worked hard. It's just not working at the minute. It's just not clicking. We're missing a little bit of the X factor. Anyway, I'm going to disappear. Frustrating game yesterday. Not then well, but it puts a bit of pressure on the Arsenal one and the Norwich one, I think, in order to get a minimum of 4 points. And I think this is where it comes down to it. Because out of those 3 games, Burnley, Arsenal, Norwich, if you go unbeaten, win 1, draw 2, it's fantastic. You've gone unbeaten, but you've got 5 points. But if you lose one but win the other 2, you get 6 points. You're not unbeaten, but you get 6 points. And I think now, I know if we get 4 points in the next 2 games, it's good point haul. Arsenal, Norwich, 4 points, that's good. But then it's 5 from Burnley, Arsenal, Norwich, and like I said, if we want 6th or 7th, I think that's a good points haul. You want to get into 4th, we want to go 1 better than last season. I'm not sure it's quite good enough. Anyway, I'm going to disappear now. We'll be back later doing a preview with Gonzo. Drop a like on the video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you're new around here. Do subscribe. We're, no, wrong one. That one. This is difficult. There. We're not far off 21,000. So if you're new to the channel, do subscribe. Catch you in a bit.